God's plan. From the beginning of time, the great God of light has had the plan of establishing paradise on earth. How can this planet, and all of the universe created by God, be imprisoned in darkness forever? When all people on earth open their hearts and minds to God's divine plan, darkness in the world will disappear. We believe the Supreme God, the creator of the universe, has planned for the establishment of paradise on earth from the very beginning of time. Throughout the ages, God has been working toward its fulfillment. For this purpose, each human being is used as God's instrument. We believe that humanity's past history has been the preparatory stage for paradise on earth. For each age, God has sent the necessary individuals and religions, each to accomplish a specific mission. Now, the world is in such chaos that no one can predict what the future holds. We believe God has entrusted Meishu-sama, our founder, with the great mission of providing the tools necessary for the world's transformation, so that God's plan for humanity's physical salvation can be fulfilled. We are determined to do our best to eradicate the three great miseries of humanity: disease, poverty, and conflict, and to help realize an ideal world of eternal peace in which truth, virtue, and beauty prevail.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining this morning service of the Miroku Association headquarters. Today's teaching, God's Plan, is the very first teaching on this series entitled Daily Inspirations. So being the first teaching, I had a particular thought of how prayers work in our basic practice of faith. We refer to them in this order: prayer, joy, service, that we must always start with prayer. So first I would like to share one experience I myself had the privilege, permission to experience. I will read the experience, although it was my own, so I wouldn't miss any details. This happened in 1992 in Newark when I was still single. And this is regarding Thanksgiving, although Thanksgiving is just 7 months ahead of us, but that will be the point I would like to make. It happened like this. A group of members thought it would be a good idea if we would sponsor a Thanksgiving party at the Joray Center, so they could invite their friends. And besides celebrating one of the most important holidays in America, they could also introduce Joray to them. When we assessed how many people would probably attend the event, we figured that 5 turkeys would be necessary. 5 people then volunteered to buy and prepare the birds, while others would bring the other traditional foods: pumpkin pie, sweet potatoes, cranberry sauce, and the like. On the eve of the big day, one person called, "Oh, minister, I'm sorry, I can't prepare the turkey as something else came up, but I bought it and I will bring it to the center." One less turkey, in case I can't arrange someone to prepare it, was not the end of the world. Half an hour later, another member called with a very similar situation, that she couldn't prepare the turkey and would bring it to the center anyway. In the interval of the next 2 hours, the 3 other members who volunteered had the same thing to say. I think they called each other and had this conspiracy plan. Unbelievable, I thought. Now, what should I do? Fortunately, the center had a small oven, so one could cook 1 turkey at a time. But how a turkey is properly prepared, I had no Thanksgiving cooking experience. While I was struggling in putting my thoughts together on how to solve this situation, a member offered to help me prepare the birds. He had experience as a cook in a New York restaurant. I showed him that we had some seasonings in our kitchen, and he taught me how creativity is important in cooking. and how to improvise with the ingredients you have around you. After such help, he had to leave. When time to go to bed came, which was around 3 o'clock in the morning, I barely could sleep, since I was so worried about not disappointing the members, and especially their guests. I woke up, and after preparing myself, I went to the altar to pray. Again, I was single and used to live in the Jorei Center those days. I begged Meishu-sama for some kind of help, strength, and inspiration to deal with that struggle. It was 8 o'clock in the morning, and rarely someone would show up so early at the center. But strangely, as I was praying, someone knocked at the door. I interrupted the prayer to open the door. It was a member, initials VH. Oh, VH, so good to see you. What happened for you to come this early? I figured she was going through an emotional purification. As I knew her for more than 2 years, every time she had an emotional breakdown, her face would be covered with scabs. She had tears in her eyes, and I prompted to help her, giving her Jorei, but I also mentioned how happy I was to see her, and that I had just prayed to Meishu-sama for help, and that she had fallen from the sky. She was not planning to stay more than 1 hour, but as she could see how concerned I was regarding the party, and how little I knew about turkeys, she then offered to help. She had a good experience in cooking, and she ended up staying the whole day preparing the dishes, and enjoyed the party very much. At the end of the day, her face was totally transformed, and no red marks were visible. She almost forgot why she came in the first place. The above passage taught me that when prayers are not self-centered, they are indeed answered. So that was my experience. But I would like to share also a member's faith experience. This one is from Portugal. My name is Maria Eduarda Barata. I am 26 years old and a member of the Coimbra Jorei Center since the age of 12. So this experience was shared in the spring of 2014. So in 2014, at that time she was 26 years old. For many years I have felt much pain when my period arrives. 3 months ago, November 2013, when my period arrived, I had such intense pains that I felt as if I was having an abortion, even though I knew that this was not the case. I am a nurse, and seeing women have an abortion. For this reason, I know well what agony, suffering, and pain these women experience. The pain felt like contractions. They would come with such intensity and leave in seconds. I was in such a pain that it brought me to tears, not able to find an easy position to sit. My mother, being a member, began to channel Jorei to me immediately. For almost 30 minutes, I received Jorei, but the pains continued. My older sister, 31 years old, has a disease called endometriosis, which causes pain during the period. I was feeling a pain my sister had been feeling for over a year. The only way she was able to carry on her daily schedule was to take analgesics and anti-inflammatory medications, which she had to take on a 4 to 4 hour basis every month. After seeing the gynecologist, she was prescribed a pill that interrupted her period, making it come only every 2 months. It was only then that her pains eased. As it is known, the pill is a concentration of hormones that control a woman's menstrual cycle, the pains, the bubbles in the skin that appear, and so on. Menstruation is a great way for women to purify the body. Therefore, if a woman prevents the menstrual cycle, the toxins that should be leaving the organism accumulate. I thought that what was happening to me was the same thing that my sister was going through. Desperate, I decided to take one of these pills. Knowing how these medications work, I expected the pain to ease with little time, but nothing happened. I had already been receiving Jorei for 20 minutes when my mother suggested that we call the Jorei Center and ask them to make a prayer. We did, and they scheduled the prayer for 3 p.m. All of a sudden, the pains disappeared. I waited for the contraction to come, but they didn't. I was really surprised because when I looked at the watch, it was 3:01 p.m. At that moment, I could only think that it was truly a miracle from the Supreme God and Meishu-sama. I was worried that this would reoccur in the following months. However, December, January, February, March came around and nothing happened. This showed me that truly medications didn't do any good for me and showed me to trust in Jorei in the power of prayer. As Meishu-sama states, many times one who is ill does not get better even though he or she is receiving Jorei. However, just by making a simple prayer to God, recovery occurs immediately. This is because one who is channeling focuses only on the Jorei channeling and forgets the most important part, prayer. In other words, one gave more attention to the branch instead of the trunk. By acting in accordance to logic, everything is faster and is smoother. Meishu-sama wrote this on August 26, 1953. So Maria continues, this is exactly what happened to me, as a Jorei member tells me. Oh, Meishu-sama never lies. I am in charge of the choir of the Coimbra Jorei Center. I know that I should be caring for each and every one of the people who participate in the group. They all have an important role here, and therefore, I should be thankful to each one of them and care for them. By experiencing the true power of prayer, I make the commitment to pray daily for each one of these people who are with me in this dedication. From now on, I will definitely begin to trust Meishu-sama more and stop taking so many medications once and for all. I am eternally grateful to the Supreme God and Meishu-sama for this lesson. This is the experience I wanted to share with you today. I want to wish you a very happy day. Thank you very much.